and the miracles with the oil. Therefore, we have a question, and the question is, so why are we celebrating Chaf Hey? Why don't we celebrate Chaf Dalet? Because that's the day we won the war, and we are celebrating the war. We learned about the two basic shittas in what the Iker miracle of Hanukkah is. Okay, but we're not going to go over the pilpul of the Rebbe relative to that, but just to know that our mimer is going along the lines of the Iker miracle is the war. We celebrate the war. Therefore, the question arises: why don't we celebrate Chav Dalet 24? A second question that we ask: on a certain level, the greatest miracle, the most impressive miracle, started on Chav Vav. Right, so why don't we make any mention whatsoever? Do something, an extra sufganiya or something on Chav Vav Kislev, right? Nothing. There's no special behavior on that day. I mean, we light 2 candles, but we're going to light 3 the next day. Okay, that's where we are. Okay. Now, in order to understand what's happening next, we need another hakdoma. This is Agdama that you've probably run into in Chassidus. You certainly have if you learn Tanya every day, but sometimes learning Tanya every day doesn't mean people are spending a long time trying to understand what it is that they're learning, because you're doing it every day, and so you have to keep up. But the second chelik in Tanya, Shor Yichud V'Amuna, deals with the difference between Yehudi Law and Yehudi Tatal, upper level unity and lower level unity. Okay. You have a marker. You have an eraser. You can destroy, but can we create? Very like one, actually. Everybody seen one, right?
From the classroom.
Yeah, please. It doesn't matter. But the classroom all the way at the end on the first floor has like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you very much. Okay, Yehudi Law, Yehudi Tatal. We'll wait to discuss what that is. We'll back. But you probably, you have run into it in Shaykhud Yehudi Law and Yehudi Tatal. What aspects of davening do Yehudi Law and Yehudi Tatal relate to? Something you say every day. Shema, beautiful. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Shema Yisrael is Yehudi Ilah. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Eliyel Moed is Yehudi Tatal. Okay, well, that's Shor Yichud V'Amuna. Okay, now what is it?
No, Yosef.
That's not Yosef. Okay. I want to wait for Yosef. I mean, he's doing us all a favor. Joseph, where are you? There he is. I see him in this. Thank you very much. Oh, I didn't want black. Wow. Okay, let's get. I just want you. What?
Yeah.
Coffee.
There we go.
Just want you to get used to marriage.
Should have brought you red, right?
Oh, no, I definitely don't.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Can you guys manage to? Yeah. Can you guys manage to look like that? Yeah, you okay? You can look a little sideways.
You have to have a perspective shift.
Okay. Now I'm not writing them out all the way, okay? Yehuda Tata. I'm writing it that way because we're going to see the words in the mind right away, okay? Yehuda Ilah. And then there's going to be a level here. Okay? There is going to be a third level. Okay? That's going to be Shema Yisrael. Hashem Echad. This is Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusei Li'elom Va'em. Okay? And there's going to be a lot more to that, which we don't have room on this board because we need a bigger board. But in the meantime, let's see that. Okay, now, Yehuda Tata, Yehudi Ilah. What's the difference between those two different levels? This can just stay here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for going to get it.
Of course.
Yehuda Tata, lower level unity. There's a world. It was created by God. The world is a kli, a vessel for the revelation of God, but the world has a certain level of existence. It says, Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim es haaretz. And interesting enough, really I should move this over a little bit. Sorry.
The issues there.
Yeah, we took it. I should move this over a little bit, okay? I'm not erasing Yehuda Tata. Here's Yehuda Tata. Yes, here's Yehuda Tata. This is Shem Elokim, and this is Shem Havai. Okay? Say those? So there's three things happening. And they're all parallel to each other. Yehuda Tata, the world exists, Kadosh Baruch Hu created it, but it's ultimately, and even though it seems to have some sort of independent existence and it seems to hide godliness, in truth, it's simply a kli, a vessel for the revelation of godliness, and godliness can be found in this world. And that's the avodah of Yehuda Tata. Right? That's another level that's relevant to this, which I'm not going to write on the board because I don't have room. Right? And the board isn't as flexible as my phone to flip sideways. Right? That would be more difficult with the board. Flip it sideways. That's also what you and I call bittul yesh, the nullification of yesh. There is a yesh, there is an existence of the world, but that world is bottled to a Kadosh Baruch. But there is a world that's bottled to a Kadosh Baruch. Right? There is a yesh. There is some state of existence that seems to be separate, but it's really not. That's called Yehuda Tata. And that's our basic avodah in Olam Hazeh. That's what you and I are spending most of our time trying to deal with. Right? There's a world, and we're trying to find godliness in the world and reveal godliness in the world. Yehuda Tata. Yehuda Ilah. Now, relative simply to Yehuda Tata, we're going to see there's a third level, so it's all going to be relative, okay? We're going to have to get there. But in the meantime, if you're just talking about these two levels, then you could say Yehuda Ilah is the level of Einod Mevadeh. It's just all of Kadosh Baruch. There's no world, okay? But in the context of this mimer, we're not going to discuss Yehuda Ilah in that way. It's going to be a somewhat of an intermediate step to the higher level. Is going to be Einod Mevadeh. There's no world. There's just the Eibishter. There's nothing else. Yehuda Ilah is Hashem Echad. That there is a metzius to the world and to the upper worlds. They have existence. They don't have a separate existence. In Yehuda Tata, you're talking about the reality of a separate existence of the world. Again, it's not truly a separate existence, but within the context of our experience, the world seems like a separate existence from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. God, so to speak, up there and we're down here. Okay? Really, that's not true. What the world is a kli for Kadosh Baruch Hu, but there's a world. There's a very powerful expression of world. That's Yehuda Tata. Yehuda Ilah, the world, all 7 levels of heaven, they're all completely and totally nullified to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that it's not that the world is a place where you'll find a HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the world is a HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But there's a world, but it's a HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah?
Where's the 7 heavens? Is that in which specific world? Is that in our world?
Up to Bria. But we're not worried.
And what is if Yehuda Tata is bittul yesh? What is Yehuda Ilah?
We're gonna get there, don't worry. Good question. Right? Okay? And so, I mean, we're going to where Yosef just asked us to go, right? So therefore, in terms of our avodah, what's that level called? That's called bittul b'metzius. There is a metzius, there is an existence of these levels of reality, but they are completely bottled to godliness. They are godliness. But they exist. Meaning, Eilam Hatzilus. What's in Eilam Hatzilus? 10 spheres. Right? Okay. So, what's revealed there? Hashem Echad. but not a Shem Yochid. There's a level beyond the Shem Echad. The Shem Echad is that within the context of all of reality, it's all a Shem. There is a reality, there's an existence of different levels of reality, but all of those different levels are a Shem. Then there's a level, nothing but the Eibishter. That's Hashem Yachid. He's the only one. He's not one. He's the only one.
Is the third one?
There isn't anything else.
This is the third one?
That's the third one, which we'll get to. We're not. We don't. That's not there yet. All right. Okay. And we'll see where that. So there's two levels of Aveda: Bittul Yesh, Bittul B'Metzias. Bittul Yesh is the Aveda of the Beinoni. I'm a Yesh. I experience my own independent existence, but I'm trying to nullify that existence and use that existence to reveal godliness and not to reveal self. It's not about me, it's about him. But there's a me. It's just not about me. But I certainly experience me, and me's the one trying to do away with me. Which is always the interesting dichotomy of trying to figure it all out down here. There's a me doing all that. Okay. That's Bittul Yesh. That's the Aveda of the average everyday person. Tzaddikim, Bittul B'Metzias. They have a Metzias, but it's a Metzias of Bittul. There's no separateness from a Kadosh Baruch Hu in any way, shape, or form.
Metzias, sense of self?
Metzias, no, Chas v'Shalom. That's Yesh. Metzias means what? What's the English translation for the word Metzias?
Existence.
Existence. There is an existence, but it's an existence of Bittul. But it's there. And then there's a level completely beyond that. There's just the Eibush. There's nothing. You can't talk about anything else. That's going to be the third level. Okay? And in what we wrote on the board, there's no Yehuda Tatai law for the third level. It's beyond Yehuda. It's beyond unity. Because if there's nothing else, there's no, what's the unity? It's just what's being unified. Hold on, one second. There's what's being unified. The higher level is going to be what's called Havaya, the Le'ela, upper level Yud Kei Vav Kei. There's going to be two different levels of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Okay? Now, this is all going to make sense once you start reading in the Mimer, but it'll just be a lot easier to read it in the Mimer once we have the basic background of it all. There's going to be more things that we can put in this scheme of level 1, level 2, level 3. Everything about Hanukkah is going to be understood in the context of level 1, level 2, level 3. How many miracles are there in Hanukkah? 3. War, finding the Shemen, burning for 8 days. 3 different levels of godly revelation in the holiday that relate to 3 different levels of reality. We haven't seen the third one yet. We'll get there. When we see it in the Mimer, we'll talk about it. Okay, but the first two, we have to have the basic understanding of the idea of Yehuda Tata, Yehuda Ilah. Yehuda Tata is, within the context of the created world, God is the world is a place to reveal godliness. Yehudi Ilah, God's one. Echad. What does Echad mean? What's the kavanah the Shulchan Aruch says you're supposed to have when you say the word Echad in Shema Yisrael? Dalet ruchos ha'olam, the 4 corners of the world. The Ches is the world, and the 7 levels of Shemayim are all bottled to Echad. There's a metzias of those things, but it's not separate in any way, shape, or form. It's all just Him. The first level is there's a metzias, but the purpose of that metzias is to reveal Him. That's different than saying it's all just Him. Right? So the world, so to speak, the world's whoever doesn't use the words here, the world is a kli for godliness. That's Yehuda Tata. The world is the place where God will be revealed. Yehudi law, it's just all godliness. What's above that? There's no world to be godly. It's all just Him. Einod Milvado. There's nothing else. Okay, but we'll see that one when we get there.
You mentioned that the Bittul of the Yesh is the level of Benoni. The second level.
Bittul Metzias is Tzaddik.
Sorry?
Yeah.
And what was the
It's
third
the
one?
Aveda of the Tzaddik. There's no Aveda there.
And the third
I mean,
one?
that third level is going to be Mesiras Nefesh, but we'll get there. When we see it in the Mimer, don't worry. I mean, we'll see. It'll all make that level. I'm not really discussing now because you're not going to understand it until we see it in the context of the Mimer, where we see the first 2 levels expressed in Chanukah. Then we'll have an appreciation of what the third one is. Okay. So either Yehudi Lo, Yehuda Tata. What do those two relate to? This is Shayachut V'Amunah, right? I mean, this is something we all have to know. Shema Yisrael, Yehudi Lo. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Eliel Bed, which we say quietly because we're embarrassed to express the very powerful experience of our own separate existence. It's a little embarrassing. Right? On Yom Kippur, that existence is so imbued with godliness, we're not embarrassed. We say it out loud because it's all okay. But during the year, I'm here. I'm taking up a lot of space, but I want you to know it's all about God. But it's me doing it. Okay. It's embarrassing. Okay. So Yehuda Yilo, Yehuda Tata, right? That's enough for now. We're going to see it in the Mimer. We'll be able to understand it more in the context of the Mimer. So let's see Ois Kimmel. Nekud is a beer b'zeh ba'mayim. The point of explanation of all this in the Mimer. Now again, the Rebbe is quoting the Mimer of the Rebbe that was said in Tafresh Tzamach Ches, which is 1938. Rather tumultuous times. Vanes, I'm sorry. Shanes the nitzachar melchama hu Yehuda Tata. The nace of the victory in the war is Yehuda Tata. Yes, you can see it right away written, so I can write it in shorthand up there. Yehuda, Yehud, unity, Tata, lower. Aramaic for lower. Tachton. Vanes the Metzias Pach Shemen Tahor, and the miracle of finding the jug of pure oil, hu Yehuda Ilo, is upper level unity. And the Rebbe will explain the difference between those in terms of how the miracle happened also. Now, the nace of Melchama Yehuda Tata, well, Melchama is pretty worldly, right? There's an enemy, I'm fighting the enemy, he's right there, he has a real existence, he has a real Yeshus, he's got his thing, and I've got my thing, and I've got to battle him very, very seriously in order to win this war. That's Elam Hazeh Mamish. Okay. Finding the Pach Shemen is much more miraculous. But it had to be found in space, in time. There's an aspect of world to it, but it's transcendent. And then the burning is going to be something completely and totally transcendent of any limitation whatsoever. The Rebbe's not there yet. Okay, he's just going to talk about the first two levels. He's going to say something quite astounding. Now, you and I said Yehudi Ilah and Yehuda Tata is Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem. Oh, so look what the Rebbe says. The remez of all this.
How come we start with the higher level and then we...
Well, you and I say Shema Yisrael first, so we start with the higher. When we discuss Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem, we start with Yehuda Ilah. Why do you and I do that? Again, we make the ultimate expression.
More logical to build up.
Well, yes and no. Think about okay. It's a good question. Now, think about the answer. You can answer it also. Where does Shema Yisrael come from? No. Where's it come from? Simple pshat. Where's Baruch Shem Kvod come from? It's written in the Torah. Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus Elam V'ed. No. It's what you and I insert in the middle of two psukim in the Torah to relate to a different level of reality. The level that the Torah is describing is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The level that we insert in our Veata is it's a lower level. So what do we mention first? What's written in the Torah?
Baruch Shem, it's not written in the Torah.
You ever see Parshas Veschonen, Devarim? Look in the Psukim. Look up the Psukim Shema Yisrael in the Torah and see what it says there. Parshas Veschonen, Devarim Vav, Pasuk Dalet. Look it up.
Where's the thing when Yaakov says it?
It's a medrash. Yaakov never says it. I mean, he does, but not in the Torah. Yaakov and his children have a conversation. Yaakov doesn't say Shema Yisrael. They say Shema Yisrael. Yaakov is worried about his children staying frum. And he says, I'm a little worried. And they say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Don't worry. Yisrael. Yaakov's name, right? And why they're calling their father by his name, I'm not sure, but that's okay. Right? Shema Yisrael, Havai Elokeinu, Havai Echad. The Eibishter is the Eibishter. And he says, Baruch Shem, Baruch Hashem. Okay. But that's not in the Torah. It's a medrash. Shema Yisrael is a pasuk in the Torah. What's the next pasuk in the Torah? After the pasuk Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What's the next pasuk in the Torah? Be'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha. Baruch Shem is not the Torah. It's what you and I put in the middle of Shema Yisrael, dafka because of Yehuda Torah, because of that level of connection to the Eibishter also. Shema Yisrael is complete bittul b'metzias. Baruch Shem, yeah, but I feel my own existence. Even there, I want to I want to make a statement about my connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even there, even on that level. Okay, that's what's happening in Shema Yisrael, but let's see what's happening in Chanukah. So the milchama is Yichud Tatah. That's relating to godliness within the context of a very worldly reality called a war against these people called Greeks who have real weapons and are really trying to kill people. The Nesim and Siyas Pach Hashemen, much more spiritual, Yehudi law. A much more obvious expression of godliness. In order to see the godliness in the milchama, you have to have a certain amount of sensitivity. Right? Now, not so much, it's pretty obvious. But I would assume there are probably still people out there who think that the victory in the 6-Day War was because the Israeli army is so good. I'm sure there's people like that out there, right? Okay. What?
Maybe because of the Rebbe?
The Rebbe would teach them exactly the opposite. That the victory in the war is not because of the greatness of the army. But I don't think, I happen to be a Lubavitcher Chassid and tried my best to pattern my life and live my life within the context of the Rebbe and my relationship with the Rebbe, etc., etc., etc. But I do not think you need the Lubavitcher Rebbe to appreciate the miraculous reality of the 6-Day War. Right? Or the miraculous reality of the 12-Day War we just had against Iran a little while ago. Right? I think you have to be pretty dense not to see the godliness in it. But I'm sure there are people out there who don't, and they'll talk about the incredible intelligence of the Israelis in Iran, which was pretty incredible. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's the same people who allowed October 7th to happen, figured out Iran, figured that out. Right? But whatever. Right? Okay. So, but they're amazing and incredible. Okay. You want to say it's all teva? It's intelligent, meaning the people have no intelligence about the people next door to them, have unbelievable intelligence about people 1,000 miles away. I don't get that. Okay. Well, that was willful. So you could look at that as a natural event. I mean, it certainly happened in a natural way. It wasn't that we all sat here and said Tehillim and Pitom, the whole Iranian Air Force, some merit, all the guys were killed. No, someone had to go with a plane and put a bomb into the window and blow them all up. How did they all get there together? Well, somehow we managed to send out messages that they should all get together. The whole thing is crazy. Okay, but someone with little sensitivity will see the miraculous nature of all of this, the hand of God in it all. Okay, but that's Yehudit Tatah. It's all happening in Gashmias. Right? How did they win the war? They fought. Did they have good tactics? I'd imagine they had very, very good tactics. Right? Guerrilla warfare. They were one of the first successful proponents, is that the right word? Of guerrilla warfare. A small little group wiping out something much bigger. He and I saw it in our lifetime. It's called the Viet Cong. Viet Cong defeated the American army in Vietnam. Small little ragtag group of guys, running around in a jungle that they knew very well that the Americans didn't know. And they won. Right? I mean, they won the war. There's no doubt about that. They won the war. The Americans retreated with their tail between their legs. Right? So, was that miraculous? No. It was just pretty successful guerrilla warfare. Was the war of the Maccabim, of the Hashmonaim, was that miraculous? Yes, that was miraculous, but it completely clothed in nature. They had to fight the war. That's Yehuda Tatah. It's all down here. It's all happening down here. Finding the Shemin? Well, interesting enough. The Rebbe's going to talk about that in the intermediary state. It's down here. You had to find it down here in space. Mm-hmm. But it's obviously miraculous finding that. I mean, that's much more obviously miraculous than the war. The war, theoretically, you could talk about the tactics of the Hashmonaim and some guy, I'm sure, if we knew the tactics, I'm sure people in West Point would still discuss the tactics with the people in their classes in West Point in great moments in Army warfare, right? Because I'm sure it was a great moment in Army warfare. Okay, that's all Gashmias. Right? The Pach Shemen, it's pretty obviously miraculous and pretty obviously Ruchnius, spirituality. Okay, so that's Yehudi law. There is a reality of the world and all the levels beyond, but it's all just the Eibishter. Now the Rebbe says something absolutely fascinating, which is not so common in the Rebbe's Maimarim, but it's just such an amazing idea. V'zeu shaneh, what's the hint to all this? V'zeu is called a remez. When you start talking about numbers, it's a remez. V'zeu shaneis t'nitzachon ha'melchama haya b'chaf dalet kislev. It was on the 24th. V'neis t'metzias pach hashemen, and the miracle of finding the shemen was on chaf hey kislev, on the 25th. Why? What is this all hinting at? Ki mispar chaf dalet, the number chaf dalet, 24, remez hints al yichud tata, the notion of yichud tata. Why? Keneged Chaf Dalet Oisius, which correspond to the 24 letters of Baruch Shem Kaved Malchusei Le'elam V'ed. There are 24 letters in Baruch Shem Kaved Malchusei Le'elam V'ed. What's that? Yehuda Tata. What's that? The 24th of Kislev. Umispar Chaf Hey, the number 25, Roim al Yehudi law. That hints to the level of Yehudi law. How does it hint to the level of Yehudi law? How many letters? Just guess. How many letters are there in Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad? 25. Isn't that interesting? What a great remez. Unbelievable. Roime, right? Roime is al Yehudi law. Keneged, what's that corresponding to? Chafei Oisir Shebapasuk Shema Yisrael, Geimer, etc. Hashem Echad. So 24 is Baruch Shem Kved Malchus Le'elam Ved, and that's Yehuda Tata. 25 is Shema Yisrael, which is Yehudi law. The battle, the war, the level of godliness that was revealed, the level of Yehuda, the godliness expressed as Yehuda Tata, the unity of godliness in the lower realms, that was expressed most powerfully through the Milchama, which happened on the 24th. And the level of godliness, which is transcendent of that, was expressed on the 25th, and that's finding the Pach Shem. And that's Yehuda Tata and Yehudi Ilah, and that's Baruch Shem, and that's Shema Yisrael. Okay? So that's why, really, if we had a bigger board, we should add something, right? What are we adding? So we're adding, next to Elokim Yehuda Tata Baruch Shem, Melchama. Right? Mm-hmm. There's room for that. And I guess that we can, okay, let's add that. We can do that. Even though we're going to run out of room because there's more things going to happen as we go through the mind. But okay. This is Milchama. And this is what do I put up here? One little word. What would you write here? What?
Shemen.
Shemen. Right. Shemen. Finding the Shemen. Say it, but we know what we mean. Right? That's going to be the Shemen. So now there's four things that are parallel. Yeah? But now what about the third level? Let's go. Vanes da haspokas Hashemen, which is obviously the most obvious miracle. Right? You can't possibly explain that in nature. You can explain the war in nature. You can even explain finding the Pach Shemen in nature on some level, right? But I mean, obviously it was miraculous because they went around trying to destroy it all and there was one left. Okay. But it happened in nature. And we're going to see, the Rebbe's going to mention that. And then there's a level that's completely and totally an obliteration of nature. There's no nature there. You just can't burn that. In nature, it doesn't, what happened can't be. Okay. Vahanes, the third nace, the aspakas Hashemen, of the Shemen lasting, l'shmeinu yomim, shehi schil, and we're saying it, that began on Chav Vav Kislev, We're not learning like the Ritva that said they lit an eighth every night. The Rebbe's going to mention that later in a footnote, which is very fascinating. Right? But simple pshat, when did the miracle of the Shem, I mean, there was enough oil for Chaf Hey, so the miracle started on Chaf Vav. Well, what's Chaf Vav a gematria of? 26 is a gematria of
God's name.
Yud Kei Vav Kei. Oh. Okay, so we have Elokim, Havaya, but now the 26 is going to be Havaya, the Le'ela, upper level Havaya, meaning a level of transcendent godliness, Einoid Milvadoi, there's nothing else. And we'll see. But wait, there's one other thing that we have to put in here. We have room. We'll put this over here, 25. This is 24. This is going to be 26, which is going to be Havaya de Le'ela. And that is going to be, I'll write it, Hashem Elokeinu, before Hashem Echad, and that's going to be a case. Okay? In terms of Yehudi Elah, Tata, it's beyond both those. Beyond that. Okay, so now let's go back to the Maimon. Where's David?
You've been hiking for last week.
Been hiking for last week. Okay. No, I just know, I noticed he wasn't around when I came back. And who said yes, sir?
Where is the Volcano? Is that?
We're going to explain, see it in the Mimer, don't worry about it.
So I shouldn't write it. Okay.
Write it down. I just was up there, so I wrote it down. I didn't want to get up again. Right? But I mean, we're going to see it in a second. Right? The nace, the nace of Haspakas Hashemen, Lashmoni Yamim Sishcha v'Chav Vav v'Gematria Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, Hu L'mayla Gam Yehudi Law. That's a level even beyond Yehudi Law. Now, if you want to give that level a name, even the Rebbe doesn't in the Mimer, that's Einod Mavadir. There's nothing but him. It's all him. There's nothing else. It's not that everything is him. There's nothing else but him. Right? Those are two different statements. Right? There's a metzius of stuff. There is an existence of things. What are they? That existence is all godly. And then there's the level of, no, it's just the Eibishter. Nothing else. There's no existence of anything but him. It's not that everything is him. There isn't an everything to be him. There's just him. There isn't anything else. Right? There's no world. There's no upper worlds, lower worlds. It's just him. Right? What does that look like? Okay. Now, in a Veita, what's that ultimately going to, and you guys can understand this because we've learned this, right? What's that level of appreciation of reality? What level in Avodas Hashem is it going to be the source of ultimately? It's called Mesiras Nefesh, right? Einad Mavadeh, Azoiv Nitandrish. This is all there is. We learned about Mesiras Nefesh. Right? Okay, we're going to learn about Mesiras. You can't go very far in my Maimon and the Rebbe without discussing Mesiras Nefesh. Etzem and the Neshama, the essence of the soul. What's there? Nothing else. The lower levels of the soul that are clothed either in that exist in Eilam Atzilus or exist clothed in the body in this world. Okay, there's other levels of reality other than God that aren't absolute. They exist on some level. Their existence is not absolute. Their existence isn't real with a capital R, but they exist. The world is not an illusion. The world exists. How do you know the world exists? It says in the Torah, Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'haaretz. The Eibishter created a world. Okay. On what level does that world exist? It's a place to reveal godliness. God created it because he wanted to be revealed in that place. So that place has some level of existence. Absolute existence? No. Right? The only thing that has absolute existence is the essence of God. Why? Because what does absolute existence mean? That I don't depend on anything else for my existence. The only level of reality that you can say that about is the essence of God, right? And we've talked about that. Even godly light, even the most powerful infinite godly light has a source and a level higher than it. It depends on something else for its existence, right? The light that is, I understand there is no, you can't really say this, but I'll say it just to make the point. The light that's 3 kilometers away from the sun, okay, pretty powerful light, right? Pretty powerful light up there, okay. But that light only exists because there's a sun. As powerful as it is, it has a source. What really exists? The sun. And that light is an expression of that existence. Okay? As powerful as it is. And the light 93 million miles away from the sun, all the more so. Right? It's beautiful. Lately, I don't know, I was in New York on Sunday. Beautiful sunny day, gorgeous, 1 degree Celsius. Right? Then 2 days, the next day I landed in Tel Aviv. Monday morning I landed in Tel Aviv. Beautiful sunny day, 24 degrees. Same sun. I don't know exactly what its problem was in New York. It just couldn't quite get it together to warm us up. But gorgeous. New York in November when the sun is shining and it's 1-2 degrees. Gorgeous. Beautiful. Clear air. Beautiful. Needed a good coat, but it was beautiful. Fresh, nice. Okay. But was that the sun? It's not the sun. It's sunlight, which is 93 million miles away from the sun, so it can express itself differently in different places. And you don't have to fly 10 hours to Tel Aviv. You just go 3 hours to Miami. You'll run into the same 25 degrees. Okay. That's the way the sun works. Well, that's the way sunlight works. Okay, so obviously the sun doesn't exist by virtue of itself. God creates it. But in that model, so what really exists? The sun exists. That's the only thing that exists. There's no sunlight. Its existence is simply an expression of the sun. It doesn't have absolute existence. Okay, so too, any state of existence outside of the essence of God doesn't have absolute existence. But it has some level of existence. Okay, but what is it? Completely bottled to its source. Completely nullified to its source. Either that's very hidden to such an extent that it can even be referred to as separate existence, stuff down here in Eilam Hazeh. And then the nullification to its source would be called bittul hayesh, which we didn't write on the board either, right? Another line to put on right? That would be the fifth line. Bittul hayesh would be the bottom. Bittul metzias would be the, right? Okay. Bittul hayesh, there's a yesh, there's an existence, there's a world, but its only purpose is to reveal godliness. That's why it's there. Then there's a level beyond that called bittul b'metzias. What does that mean? There's a metzias of reality, but it's in no way, shape, or form expresses itself as separate, and its metzias is, what does Olam Atzilus say to you? I am godly. Not I'm bottled to God, I am godly. Right? Okay, that's Olam Atzilus. So Shem Havaya, that's that level of Olam Atzilus. What's Shem Havaya Dilatata? The lower Shem Havaya, what's that? Yud K Vav K. Yud is Olam Atzilus, K is Olam Habriya, Vav is Olam HaYetzira, K Tata is Olam HaAsiya, the 4 worlds of Seder Ishtalshlus, the 4 worlds of creation. So it's the source of the energy of creation, Yud Kei Vav Kei. What allows it all to express itself in some state of separateness, seeming separateness? Elokim. God's name in plurality. It's a plural word, right? The source of plurality. God's one, right? Creation isn't one. It doesn't look that way. Ultimately, it is. We know that. Okay, we said it, but it certainly doesn't look that way. Hashem Echad, that's a higher level. What's down here? Millions, billions, trillions, and gazillions of stuff. All right? For all intents and purposes, an infinite amount of stuff. All right? It's a lot of stuff. All right? Don't worry. You'll never own it all, so just chill. Right.
Is the name different in Havaya Delayla, or is it
No.
just a different level of it?
Well, what are we calling it? Havaya Delayla.
Same.
That's what it is.
Same issue about
It's
that.
two different levels of Yud Kei Vav Kei. There's Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is a very lofty level of godly reality, and then there's Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the source of the light of the four worlds. What's the source of the kelim, the vessels of the four worlds? Elokim. What do vessels allow for? Differentiated existence. Right? We've talked about that so often, right? The light up here, it's in a state of echad, right? It's not differentiated in any way, shape, or form. The light right here in front of me, right? Okay, but now the light, as that falls on this table, look on this table and see how many different ways that light is expressing itself. What's allowing it to express itself all those different ways? The kelim, the table itself, the cups on the table. I see there's more cups than anything else now as we look around, right? Okay, the cups on the table, we'll all take our cups and throw them away, right? The cups on the table, and the papers on the table, and the pens on the table, and the colorful books that Amnon brings to the table. David has a book down there, but all I see is white. Yeah, okay? That's what are those? Kelim, what are they doing? Revealing all the differentiation that is in potential here. They're actualizing that potential. That's yesh. What's up here? Echad. It's all one. But in that one, there's the possibility of many, right? But it's one. But it's the source of the many. Okay. Then there's a level completely beyond any of that. It's not one. And if you want to say what it is, it's Yochid. That would be a Shem Yachid. There's a huge question that's brought into this in many places and discussed in many places, and it's a real question. Why is it in Shema Yisrael? We don't say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Yachid. He's the only. No, we say Hashem Echad. Well, you can understand that from what we're learning in this minor. There's a level beyond the Hashem Echad. That level is going to be Hashem Elokeinu. That third level is going to be Hashem Elokeinu. We'll see it right now. Okay. Then there's the level of Chavav, the Gematria Havaya, who Lamaila Gam Yichudi Ilah. It's a level beyond Yichudi Ilah. That third level, that elusive third level that just came into existence. Dagam, Shegam, that even though, Hagam means even though, Shegam means also. Dagam, even though Shegam Yichudi Ilah, also Yichudi Ilah, who B'Shem Havaya is relevant to Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, Havaya Echad, Kimavur Bekama Mekemis, as is explained in a number of places. Shahabitol Shemitzad Shem Elokim. Again, we've talked about all this. I was just seeing it in the mimer. The bittul, the state of nullification that comes as a result of Shem Elokim, down here, hu bittul a yesh. That's bittul a yesh. There is a yesh. There is a seeming. There is something that seems to be a separate existence. And that's yesh. It's created. It's separate. It's not the Eibishter. This cup is not God. It only exists by virtue of the fact that God gives it existence, but it's not God. You know the Atzilus? If you are holding in your hand Chesed of Atzilus, that's God. Right? You're not holding something that's revealing the Eibishter. That's the Eibishter. The Eibishter in an interesting form. Okay, but that's him. Now you can't hold Chesed of Atzilus, obviously, but you know what I mean. Whereas down here in Eilam Hazeh, you're holding something that's an expression of God's loving kindness that He created the world. Okay, but it's not him. It's a cup. It's revealing. If you see it right, it's revealing him. Right? If you look at this cup right, you see an expression of godly energy. Because everything's an expression of godly energy. It's nothing else. But it's very different down here. That's bittul a yesh. There is a yesh, but it's batal. In you and me, there's a me, but I should be batal. What we're trying to do is take me and turn me into someone who's interested in revealing God instead of revealing me. Right? It's not about me and my, this thing that I like and this thing that I like and this gives me and this I feel and this I write. No, stop. Let's go there. What does Abraham want from me? Okay, so the person can live that. Right? It's not about my spirituality either, or my religious devotion, or my religious elevation. It's about God. And if I think about God, then I will be devout and I will elevate and all that stuff, but that's not what it's about. And sometimes you can spend so much time worrying about being better at things that you forget about being better at things. You could spend your whole day reading books about parenting and not paying any attention to your children. Abba, can I ask you a question? Be quiet. I'm reading a book about parenting. Leaving me alone. No, but I just want to be quiet. Leave me alone. You see, I'm involved in something. I'm reading a very important book. It's about you, this book. All I care about is you. I'm reading this book because I want to be a better parent. Now just leave me alone. Go watch television. Leave me alone. Play on your screen. Oh, gee, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? We can do that with God? No problem. Well, sit and learn a Maimar Chassidus. God, leave me alone. I'm learning a Maimar Chassidus. I don't want to think about you right now. All right? I'm busy learning a Maimar Chassidus, so I can think about you. It's crazy down here. That's Yesh. Right? So it takes a lot of creativity and a lot of focus to not fall into all of that. Right? So now the Rebbe wants to take us to explain the third level of Avaya, right? So first he's going to explain the second level of Avaya, which is the third level. First he's going to explain the level of Elokim, right? What's that? Shemitzad Shem Elokim hu bitla yesh. That's Yichud Tata. Reish is bara Elokim, as the Shema V'Saros. What's Elokim? The source of Kelim, vessels. What's Yud Kei Vav Kei? The source of Or. Yeah? In creation. Or is clothed in Kelim. Or is just a mushal for godly energy. Godly energy is clothed in vessels. Where do the vessels come from? The vessels are also God. Not that the vessel is something separate from God. It's also Him. It has a name. Elokim. Avaya hu Elokim. It's all Him. It's just Him in finite and Him in infinite. But it's all Him. And Him in finite is a really interesting experience. And that's called Yesh. Va'bittel di Yehudi law, and the level of nullification, bittel of Yehudi law, what's that? That's bittel b'metzias. There is a metzias, but it's a metzias of bittel. There is an existence, but it's an existence of bittel. What's that? Olam hatzilus. Olam hatzilus. There's a metzias there. A metzias of what? 10 spheres. What are they? Him. They're completely bottled to Him. All they are is Him. But they have metzias. There's 10 spheres up there. Whatever that means. 10 different aspects of His existence. But it's His existence. That's what tzaddikim live. Tzaddikim don't have an experience of separateness. Yesh. They've worked hard to do away with that. And they reach that level where they don't experience a separateness from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, which just must be an unbelievable experience to live that way. That doesn't mean they're not aware of the fact that they have feet and hands and their head and they brush their teeth. The tzaddik in our generation didn't brush his teeth. He doesn't have any teeth. Okay, we're saying that. Theoretically, if you have teeth, you brush them. Frida Rebbe, we see those big teeth. When the Frida Rebbe smiles, you see a mouthful of teeth. You've never seen a mouthful of teeth when you see the Rebbe smile, because the Rebbe doesn't have a mouthful of teeth. Right? One of the conditions for marrying the previous Rebbe's daughter was the Rebbe never have a filling. Fillings are very interesting. Don't worry about it. But if you think about it simply, so your teeth are basically treif, right? Mm. Well, you take hot milk and pass it through them, and you put hot meat on them and chew it with them. So, if you did that with a pot, you'd have to throw out the pot, right? Mm. Your teeth, right? Mm-hmm. David, you look surprised over there. Right? 6 hours after you had the meat meal, you might have a cup of coffee and destroy it with milk in it. And that would be hot. So now you're putting hot milk on these teeth that just ate hot meat. So they're fleshik teeth. No, but it's 6 hours. Wait, 6 hours. That doesn't work with my pot. I can't take my fleshik pot and 6 hours later cook milk in it. It's a fleshik pot. That's what it is. It's on the fleshik side of the kitchen, and it will never see milchiks again, right? Okay, so how come I can do that with my teeth? Well, because it's not a pot. It's me. Okay. Now, what about? I'm not telling you don't get that fillings. Don't worry. But what if you have a filling in your mouth that isn't you? Oh,
What about an implant?
same. No, but not la halacha. It's not a problem. Still you, but if you're the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Lubavitcher Rebbe, so say no, I'm not going there. You know, my father always used to tell. My father always used to tell a story about a lady who was. You know, this is the day. My father remembers as a kid. If you wanted to go to New York or Florida, it was a train. It was a train ride. So a lady's on a train. And she winters in Florida, and she summers in Toronto. So she has to go over the border. So she's going over the border, and the guy sees that she's got all these false teeth in her luggage. So he goes, "What?" He thinks maybe she's like smuggling some false teeth or something. She says, "No, they're all mine. What do you need so many?" He says, "Well, these are my milchiks, and these are my fleishiks." He says, "Okay, but what are these other two over here?" "Oh, that's my milchiks for Pesach, and that's my fleishiks for Pesach." He says, "Well, what are these ones?" Sometimes I eat a little treif. So, imagine take out your teeth every time you're... Okay, but so tzaddik is aware of the fact that he's in Olam Hazeh and you know, he eats food, but his conscious reality is just godly, which is something we have a hard time imagining, but that's where tzaddikim live. Right? They're batal b'metzias. They're a metzias. There's an existence of that person. But what is their existence? An existence of bittul. What are they interested in? Eibishter, netto, nothing else. Right? Now, if you're a tzaddik and you're responsible for a whole generation, so what does that mean that you're interested in the Eibishter and nothing else? You're interested in the welfare of every single Jew in that generation, because that's what the Eibishter wants from you. Your job is to take care of every single Jew in that generation. Whatever you can do to help that Jew, you'll do. You'll read their letter, you'll give them a bracha, you'll do whatever you can do to help that Jew. That's Raya. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. Because that's what the Eibishter wants from him. That's why he's here. V'bitl the Yehudi law, famous story when the Rebbe came home one night and had very red eyes and looked tired and was carrying up one of those brown paper bags that we always see the Rebbe carrying, and in those brown paper bags are letters from Jews. So the Rebbitzin, obviously I wasn't there. This is just a story that we heard. I assume we heard it from the Rebbitzin. She must have told so much. Told Eunuch, and Eunuch told us. So the Rebbe came home, and the Rebbitzin said the Rebbe looked tired. He should rest. The Rebbe said, "How can I rest when these Jews need my help?" The Rebbe spent the whole night at home reading and answering those letters, and then took them back in the bag to the office the next day to give them to the secretaries to type up and send off to people. Rebbe didn't sleep. Why? These people need my help. How can I go to sleep? That's what it means to be the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's a hard job. V'bitl the Yehudi law, bitl b'metzias, hu dafka mitzad shem havaya. It's mishem havaya, not Elokim. Mikol makom, nevertheless, let's try to get this done. I want you to see this idea before we stop today. Zeh dechsiv be havaya echod. That's why it's written havaya echod, which is 4 corners of the earth, 7 levels of heaven are all bottled to him. But those things have a metzias, they have an existence. V'lo yochid. Not yochid, he's the only thing. No, there's other stuff. Not really. Not really, but on some level it's there. Sheyeshnam zayin rikim. There's 7 levels of heaven. Va'aretz, v'dalet ruchei selim, in the 4 corners, the 4 directions of the earth. Elo, shehem betelim. They are nullified. Umi yuchadim, and united. Im or ein sof, with the light of ein sof, alufa shalayim, the master of the world. Oh. So now the world is one with him. The level of bittul yesh is the world is a kli for revealing him. The level of bittul metzias is the world is one with him. And then there's going to be a level beyond that where there's no world. There's just him. That's Havaya Delayla. That's the next level. Let's just try to get there before it turns to 8:30 and we turn into pumpkins. Hu lefisha Havaya zeh, this level of Havaya, hu Havaya, you came up, Havaya. This level of Havaya, hu Havaya di Ishtalshalus. This is Havaya di Ishtalshalus. What's Ishtalshalus? The four worlds. This is the source of the godly energy that powers the four worlds. And what's that called? Havaya de Latata, the lower level of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Gezeu Mashikosav, and this is why it says Hashem Elikeinu, Hashem Echad, Shema Yisrael. There's something very bothersome about that pasuk. It's written wrong. Obviously, not written wrong. Now, it's very hard to ask a question in Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, because what else can it say? I mean, that's Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. It's like that's what it has to say. Okay, but if you're looking at it mitzad learning Chumash, what obvious question would you ask in that pasuk?
Echad's one of a sequence. Just Yachid sing is nothing else.
That's not pshat. I wouldn't ask that.
Elohim is plural.
Doesn't say Elokim in the pasuk. It says Elokeinu. Simple pshat. Why does it say John is tall, John is fat? What's wrong with the sentence that I just said? How would you write it? John is tall and fat. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Why two Shemas Hashem? Hashem, that's your answer. I'm not interested in the answer. I'm interested in appreciating the question first. You're right, there's going to be 100 answers to the question, but unless I know there's a question, I'll never give an answer. I have to appreciate the question first, right? Why does it say Hashem, Shem Hashem twice? What should it say? Simply. Simple pshat. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Echad. God, our God, is one, right? Wouldn't that be the most reasonable way of writing it? Now, I know it's hard to ask questions in Shema Yisrael, because what else can it say? I mean, it's like, it has to say that. That's Shema Yisrael. Okay, but in Rashi on Chumash answers that question. Rashi on Chumash says, Hashem, Shu Elokeinu, V'loi Elokei Umei Sa'olam, God, who is our God and not the God of the nations of the world, will be one, the God of everybody, when? B'Yemei Mashiach. According to Rashi, when you say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, you are simply saying it's all about bringing Mashiach. That's Rashi on Chumash. Okay, but that's not what we're saying here. We're going to say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. That's one level. That's Havaya de La'ela. That's the higher level. Hashem Echad. That's the lower level. That's what we're about to say. Now, Yaakov might have given a beautiful answer, and I interrupted him rudely. But at that point, I wasn't interested in an answer. I just wanted to explain the question. Because sometimes what happens, I ignore the question because I'm so sure there's an answer. That means there isn't a question. But the answer is an answer to a question. Well, I have to appreciate the question first. Then I realize, oh, wait a minute, I could explain it this way, I could explain it this way, I could explain it this way. There's all sorts of different ways of explaining it, 100%. Right? But it's a real question. Why does it say Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad? It should say Hashem Elokeinu Echad. Rashi and Chumash has an answer. The Ramban talks about it. Right? Okay. Let's see what the Rebbe says here, then we'll stop. It's very quickly. V'zeh ma shekasa, 4 lines up. V'zeh ma shekasa v'avaya Elokeinu v'avaya echad. The Havaya Harishon, the first Havaya, who Havaya de La'elo. That's the level of Havaya, the higher level of Havaya. Shelamayla mishtalshlus. Yud Kei Vav Kei, but not Yud Kei Vav Kei as the source of the worlds, just the Eibishter himself. Right? Yes, the Eibishter is the source of the worlds, for sure. But that's the only thing you have to say about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Well, then you don't appreciate what the Eibishter is all about, because all of time and all of space is one thought in God's life. So if you're going to define him by that one thought, well, there's sort of more to him than that. We've done this before, right? defining God in terms of as creator. He did create the world. There's no doubt about that, right? But defining him solely as that is like defining me as the guy that picked up the cup. There's a lot more to my life than picking up this cup. Is it true I picked up the cup? I definitely picked up the cup. If I'm the cup, how do I relate to me? The guy who keeps picking me up. I get that. No, that makes sense, right? That's how the cup would relate to me. He's the guy who keeps picking me up, and I wish he'd stop, and he's a nutnik. I'm resting here, and he keeps picking me up. Okay. But that in no way, shape, or form defines me. Right? There's a lot more to a human being than simply the fact that he picked up a cup once. All of time and all of space, not the time and space that we're experiencing now and then in another, no. All of time and all of space is contained in one thought in God's life. Boom. That's it. 6,000 years of the world's history, 1,000 years of Mashiach, Chayim Nitzchim, Eilam Hazeh, the first Kuf of Mashiach, second Kuf of Mashiach, like we learned in Parabishov, all of that. One thought in God's life. Whoa, I guess he's pretty big. Okay. So that's closer to the Havaya de Leila. Beyond all that, beyond Seder Vishtarsel, beyond the creation of the world, just the Eibishter himself. So there's Hashem Elokeinu, God, and then Hashem Echad, and not Yachid. The Havaya Rishonu Havaya Elokeinu, the Havaya de Leila. Sorry, Shelamayla Mishtarsel. It's beyond the four worlds. Ubavaya Zeh. There's a period on the last line. We're going to get to that period and stop. It's not relevant to say Shu Echad, that he's one in the 7 levels of heaven, Bezayin Rakim, Va'aretz, and the world, Ubadalet Ruchais Elam, and the 4 directions of the world. Shaharehu, that level is Yochid, the only one, Ve'efes Zulose, and there is nothing else. Ein Oid Milvadei. There's just him. V'Havaya base, the second Havaya in Shema Yisrael, Havaya de Latato, is the lower level of Havaya. What's that? Havaya de Ishtalshalus, the level of godly energy that's clothed in the 4 worlds and is the source of the 4 worlds. V'lochein, therefore, Shayach Bay, it is relevant to say about that level, Loshen Echad. Don't think that there's more than one. It's all just him. It's all Echad. It expresses itself in multiple ways, Beseder, but it's all just him. That's Echad, not Yochid. Yochid is just him. There's nothing to express itself there's nothing else to express itself in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so those are our 3 levels. Elokim, Havaya de Latata, Havaya de Le'ela. What's that? Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Eliel Omved, Shema Yisrael Hashem Echad, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu. What's that? War, finding the Pach, lasting 8 days. What's that? Bittul Yesh, Bittul B'Metzias, and the Rebbe hasn't told us what the 3rd level is in that context. Fine. Elokeinu, Havaya L'Tata, Havaya, right? All sorts of things. Anything like, okay, okay, basically that's what's up there. So far. Okay. The plot thickens. Say that we'll go right to tomorrow. It's just unbelievable. That was
The gematria was really cool.
Yeah,
This is
really, it's
getting
really
comprehensive.
24, 25 minutes is wild. It's just wild. I mean, it's a gematria, right? So, but it is. There are some that are really wow.
Yeah.
That's.
Was it known before the Rebbe mentioned it?
Yeah, the basic gematria of Baruch Shem and Shema Yisrael is from the Zohar. The Tikkun Zohar points out that 26. Well, I mean, everybody knows Shem Havaya is 26. That's Moshe Rabbeinu is the 26th generation of the world. The revelation of Shem Havaya.
Yeah. Hashem knows what he's doing.
He certainly does.
Well, the second.
That's a separate issue, but
That's what we know.
he certainly.
Well, the second, the middle level is called Havaya